Hello everyone, Reverend Sarah Grady from St. Paul's United Church in Paris, Ontario. It is Tuesday. I'm checking in to see how are we doing. We continue to muddle along here together, and I want to muddle through a kind of difficult subject that we started talking about on Sunday, and that is money, and specifically this word stewardship that we use in the church when we talk about how we give and spend and save. And I unpacked it a little bit on Sunday, talking about the ways that we learn from the scriptures about giving and saving and spending. And I think that they're pretty great practices to put into our personal lives as well, not just how we interact with God's church. Interestingly enough, as I left my Zoom meeting with our United Church ministers last week when we were discussing this previous chapter, the Uprising of Stewardship, I went straight to another Zoom meeting, and it was with a group of United Church ministers that I've been meeting with for the last few months through a program called United Fresh Start. And it's just kind of having conversations around some of the things we can do as ministers to improve our ministry with you, the members of our pastoral charges. And our conversation was on stewardship, and we had our financial gifts and stewardship officer, Dave Jager, join us. And he is so fabulous. If you ever want to get interested in stewardship and learning more about mission and service and how to give and just hear somebody who loves to talk about it and is really good at talking about it, Dave Jager is your guy, and he would be happy to have a one-on-one conversation. He's just can't say enough about the guy. He's wonderful. But he said something that really got me thinking, because I realized this is true. We often conflate stewardship and fundraising as the same thing, but they're not. Fundraising is a very specific, we're asking for money to buy or pay for this thing, like a new organ at the church. Stewardship is the act of giving and spending and saving our financial, our time, and our talents so that everybody can benefit and that there is not one person who goes without. And it's what we have in the scriptures that we had last week. And I got to thinking about how we use this word stewardship, and we often kind of throw out a stewardship campaign or a stewardship sermon once a year in the church, but stewardship is for the whole year round. It's not just a one-time thing. It's a way of life, is what this chapter this past week was telling us and what our scriptures were telling us. And I got thinking about this word and how I have often thought about it in my lifetime, and I usually just conflate it with money. But it is so much more than that. In a definition that I looked up, one definition was the job of supervising or taking care of something. Another definition of stewardship that had me thinking a little bit more carefully about it was the careful and responsible management of something entrusted to one's care. Now that to me is speaking a little bit more God's language, isn't it? Caring not just for our church buildings or the people who come to that community of faith, but caring about God's creation and all God's people is all part of stewardship. And that can look like offering money towards something. It can also be the sharing of your time. It can be the sharing of your talents. You know, I grew up in a household, I was raised in the United Church of Canada, always very involved in my younger years in music. And as I got older, I was worried, when I was in my early 20s and still paying off student loans, and I was listening to this message about tithing one day, and I was feeling really guilty that I wasn't giving my 10% of my earnings to the church because I just couldn't afford to. And I sat down and I talked with my minister about it, and he said to me, giving is so much more than finances. There's other people that are going to give more than 10%. That will help make up for what you're not able to give right now. What you are giving, aside from what you can financially, is your time as a choir director, as a voice in the choir, as a youth group leader. So giving and stewardship are so much more than just our money. And there is certainly that aspect, and for those who can afford to give more, we kind of call it this, in this day and age, paying it forward, We had a really great experience last year at St. Paul's before our lockdown of somebody who came to the church and they said, when I was a boy, St. Paul's United Church helped me out, and they helped my family out. We had a really crazy house fire, and St. Paul's got us back on our feet, and I want to give some money to a fund that helps to do that. We call that in the church the Benevolent Fund, and they gave a substantial amount to us that we could be good stewards to other people. And he said, I wasn't able to do it sooner than this. This is as soon as I'm able to give this, and this is the amount I want to give. And that to me was stewardship, sharing the gifts we can when we can. So I invite you to think about that word this week. What does it mean to you? What are the ways you can give of yourself? If you're able to give financially, that's great. That's for some people all they can do. They don't have enough time. They don't have the ability to share the gifts that they have because they've got other things going on or they're sharing them in other places. But that's great too. We share ourselves in God's world in so many ways. So what are the ways that you think about stewardship? What are some of the ways you think you could offer yourself in a different way to God's church, whether that's through giving of time, talent, or treasure? And let's have a conversation about it. Shoot me a text, send me an email, give me a call, let's chat. And wherever you are this week, I hope that you're safe. I hope that you're well. And of course, I always hope I'm going to get to see you in person really soon. Take care, friends. Bye.